KSL News at 6 starts now.
When offenders go before the parole board, victims of crime have a right to be there and to be heard. But the KSL investigators have learned some victims aren't being notified of those hearings.
Tonight, in a failure to protect investigation, Daniela Rivera shares a promised solution from Utah's Board of Pardons and Parole. Daniela?
Mike and Ashley, that's right. After hearing from a survivor of crime that the board repeatedly failed to notify her about parole hearings for the case she's involved in, we asked BOP how often there are failures to notify victims.
What I've done in the past, I can never change.
In his recent parole hearing, 44-year-old Christopher Peck asked for another chance.
I'm not a predator.
He's a convicted sex offender. The last 2 times the parole board granted his release, he landed back in prison after committing new sex crimes.
And I'm working on changing myself so that never happens again.
He is dangerous.
Jessica Black is a survivor. It's Peck's sentence in her case keeping him in prison for now.
I want them to know, if you have a child, would you let him be in the room with a child? If that's the question you are going to say no to, you should rethink your decision.
But Jessica says the board has repeatedly failed to notify her about hearings, including in 2020 when it last decided to release Peck.
At that time, the victim had not received proper notification from the board.
3 years later, during this hearing in September, Jessica's mom read a statement on her behalf.
I'll be reading her statement as she was unable to make it because of lack of notification of the hearing.
How did you learn about Christopher Peck's latest hearing?
From you. If you hadn't have reached out, we would have missed another hearing. And most likely he would be out right now.
Brenda Black says in the 15 years they've been involved with the criminal justice system, they've only been notified of a hearing twice.
That's a failure. If they have no notification, how can they tell the court or the parole board how it's impacted them?
Utah's Board of Pardons and Parole Administrative Director Jennifer Yim told us the board doesn't currently have a system to track its victim notification efforts, and that needs to change.
I think that the Board of Pardons needs to improve its services to victims of crime and to do a better job over time managing that communication and honoring their wishes.
Yim has been on the job for about 4 months and says the board needs to create a victim-centered data management system.
After we've had it in place for a year, I'll be able to give the public the kind of transparency that it deserves to see how many times the board has been unable to contact someone or has fallen down or been successful in its communication.
Brenda says she's not optimistic, but hopes to be proven wrong.
When they do that, I will be the first one to say they did a great job. But until that time, they need some improvement.
Now, Yim says this new system could be online within a year, and she believes it can be done with existing funds and resources. As for Peck, his next hearing will be in 2027, and Brenda believes hearing Jessica's statement did make a difference because in its written order, the board noted that it considered significant victim impact. Mike and Ashley.